Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another interview of this series, New Generation Hypnosis, where we meet good hypnotists from all over the planet to share informations, content, stories, and personal experiences. My name is Caruso Colzi, and today our guest will be Alptekin Koc. Hello,
Hello, nice to
did I
meet you.
say
Nice to be here.
right your name?
Perfectly. Very good.
I studied a lot. So
Very good.
please tell us who you are, where you come from, and what you do.
My name is Alptekin. I'm a hypnotherapist here in Berlin, Germany, who works in Berlin and online with international clients. And I'm in the field of training and coaching for more than 33 years now. I started first in the area of teaching meditation, martial arts, Qigong when I was 17. From this developed further into the beginnings of some therapy work and also sports therapy. I studied later at university, studied sports, and there's also where I the first time got to experience professionally hypnosis and also mental training, which was still in the area of sports performance. Later, I went on into the corporate arena, taught there, worked with individuals and teams. And then more and more coaching. And in the last years, hypnosis became really the focus of my work, which I'm doing now full time since a couple of years. And that's my background.
Wow. As you can see, Alptekin is lots of stuff, lots of
Mm.
work, lots of knowledge. But please, before we go over in this interview, how did you approach the first time the word of hypnotism?
It first time was I had a powerful experience in the first grade at school. We had a teacher in training who came to our physical education class. We did some normal sports like kids do in sport. And at the end, she did some autogenic training. And for all you who are familiar with hypnosis, which is a basic self-hypnosis technique, but actually if a teacher does it with you, it's basically hypnosis induction. And we had to lay on the floor and was the heavy arm, the heavy legs, etc. And I completely zoned out. As a child, I really left my body. The class was over. All the kids had to stand out and go. I was gone. She could not bring me back. Almost. I was so happy, blissed out. I remember. To this day, I remember this experience. And she was, in a way, I remember even perceiving her very happy because she came very quietly. She talked with everybody, was gone already. So we have been the only ones there. I was still lying there in my bliss, really out of the body, really fully gone. and the first time experiencing as a kid consciously such a happy state, relaxed state, which was not something that I was used to, evidently. And she brought me back, etc. So this experience stayed. And then as a kid, I connected it with something, and we are same generation here. Maybe some people remember there was in the 70s a wonderful TV series coming from the US with David Carradine called Kung Fu. And it was about this wandering Shaolin monk who ended up in the Wild West. And I fell in love with the series, with the idea of mental mastery. And I always connected it to this experience because in the movie, they were always speaking of the connection of the mind and the body and the mastery of the mind. So I had some experience. I was lucky enough as a kid to have made this experience that I could connect this. And I always thought I wanted to do Kung Fu very early. I wanted to do martial arts. But I always said, even in this age, I want to go to a monastery when I'm older, which I later did. I was 28 years old. It took a while, right? But the idea stuck in me because I saw, what can be more worthwhile doing in life than this? like this mastery, this state. Because all of my life, first of all, my family was messed up, dysfunctional, totally. So I grew up poor. I grew up unhappy in a dysfunctional, difficult childhood. I grew up as a migrant. I was born in Turkey, raising in the 70s in Germany, which wasn't really the most welcoming place. I was walking through the streets and people shouting at me, stinking Arab, stinking something, just go home, right? What do you want here? And being beaten up in the streets and all this, was a difficult childhood, to say the least. But I knew there is something worthwhile aspiring to, which was like inner mastery. And of course, related to martial arts, wanted to defend myself. But I was not allowed. First of all, we didn't have the money that I go study. So it took me very long time until I earned my first money was 14, where I then started and then practiced hard martial arts. But then I went fully in it. With 17, I became a teacher myself, finally in this area. And from there, it grew. It grew also my relationship then with hypnosis, with self-induced states, at a sports university, mental training. Then I had my first books about hypnosis, but I did not attend any formal hypnosis training this time, because of my depth understanding of meditation and Eastern practices. At this time, I find it not deep enough. Honestly speaking, I found, okay, some bunch of Westerners who discovered the depth of the mind, that there is more to the mind. But yeah, I was using hypnosis with groups, like autogenic training, leading them deeper. In fact, I was doing all kinds of things, even kind of inductions to get them there. But I did not deem it necessary. I didn't understand, and still to this day as a hypnotist, I don't understand, why do we need inductions even? You can go directly to the unconscious mind and create changes. So the inductions, okay, they're fair enough. They have their place, they have their ritual. But at this time, I didn't go much deeper with hypnosis, although I got to learn it and especially the applications of it. So that's my beginnings with hypnosis, really.
You were talking about Autogenic Train, and for the people that doesn't know, basically the inventor of this discipline, he was a great hypnotist.
Oh yeah.
And he called it Autogenic Train because he was not allowed to talk about hypnosis. We know
Exactly.
that in the field
Yeah.
of hypnosis, we have the up and down history of hypnosis. Sometimes
Yes.
they couldn't say this H word,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of tricky. So they develop other names to call the same disciplines.
Yes.
You were going around the hypnosis itself, but in all this time that you studied hypnosis, that you worked in hypnosis, what did you discover that is fascinating you more than anything else?
What's fascinating me, I would say, is two things. First of all, how much power is in the word hypnosis. It's almost like a trance itself for people. Somehow it has established itself in this word in our society as the symbol of going beyond the ordinary mind, of a practice or an ability, like the hypnotist being truly a mind magician. And I'm fascinated by the power all this belief has created within people, which is a positive thing, because like positive expectancy, we know is so important. And when it comes to change work, right? The second thing that of course fascinates me, which is not necessarily hypnosis, which is our minds, the depth of it and the potential we all have to create powerful changes quickly and rapidly, just by understanding and using our mind in a different fashion than just day-to-day awareness or consciously trying to create changes. rather than, I mean, we can go forever in this field, right? It's never ceases to be fascinating and awe-inspiring. I think we have the best job, best profession in the world, really. Witness this.
Yeah. And that's the real power of this field. I mean, we never stop studying. We can
Yes,
go deeper and deeper.
yes.
I know you have been meditating for a long
Mm.
time, and I want to ask you, is that true that meditation is a form of hypnosis? I know
Yeah.
it
No,
sounds
no, I know.
provocative, but I know also that you
Yes,
have tons of stuff to
yes.
say.
I think, as you said, I can really talk for hours about this. Because why 4 hours? First, I can talk for hours and weeks actually about meditation and the big misunderstandings there are about meditation in the first place, but also hypnosis. So the difficulty in the situation is, first of all, we need to dissect, well, what do we talk about when we say meditation? And we need to dissect, what do we talk about when we say hypnosis? So it becomes like almost impossible to answer, because now who are familiar with the world of hypnosis knows, like, we are speaking of entirely different things almost when speaking of hypnosis in the same time, and different approaches, different understandings of the mind. Yes, we can simplify things, say there is the state-based school, right, and the process-based schools of thought that say no, it's a dynamic social interactive process, or it's really a state. Hypnosis is a state, and the art to get into the state and create changes. However you take it, even in these schools, there is like all kinds of subcultures, sub understandings of what hypnosis is. And to make it even more complicated, we don't even agree on what the mind is to start to speak with. We don't know what is the mind, right? We need to actually start there. What is consciousness? So whenever anything touches consciousness, we enter into a mess of misunderstanding and confusion, because we might come from different places. Now let me summarize my personal current understanding, how I understand meditation, and where I draw the line, the imaginary line, towards hypnosis. One of the first things I start with saying very, very simply, in my world, in my understanding, hypnosis is still involved with two people. There is hypnosis, otherwise, yes, we can talk of self-hypnosis, but this becomes a tricky thing. I would say there is a hypnotist and there is a hypnotee. So in hypnosis is really something where one person guides the other as a mental expert, as the expert of mental processes of the mind, to go through experiences. And already the fact that I, for example, as a hypnotee, can completely allow myself to drop back, of consciously guiding my inner world and perception processes and hand it over to somebody else, creates a different kind of situation. Even, and that's why I'm in a different opinion, that I say there is still a big difference between actual hypnosis and self-hypnosis, which becomes tricky. Yes, some might argue then all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. I would say yes, in the sense of that it's the responsibility and the doing of the client, of the hypnotee. But there is a huge difference if I actively guide or monitor my process, or if I can really let go. That's a huge difference. We need to admit this. So that's why I still think it's very valid to have hypnosis with somebody else. Otherwise, we could say, drop everything we just teach, self-hypnosis. Why would you need a hypnosis practitioner guiding you? Ultimately, maybe not, but let's start there, right? So hypnosis, in my opinion, to separate from meditation, you need somebody else. Now, that's the thing. There are many tapes that are called guided meditations, which in my understanding and also all kinds of apps does not make any sense. Because as soon as it's guided, we are back to hypnosis. As soon as it's guided, I'd say we are back to hypnosis. There is somebody guiding you in your process. And then the question honestly becomes, how much sense does the guidance make via a tape if there's nobody present monitoring what's happening? First of all, right? So although I also have recorded tapes, we might question the power of them, honestly speaking, right? Second thing is, all the point of guided meditation misses the point of meditation. Meditation, in my understanding, is a self-discovery process. Independent of what we are trying to achieve, different kinds of meditation, it is you discovering yourself in very simple terms. As soon as somebody else guides my discovery, the discovery becomes tainted. It's not actual discovery anymore. It's more like discovery by somebody holding my hand and showing me stuff, which is okay, which might in different spiritual traditions make sense. But I come to this, their guidance becomes something else in meditation. It's very, very important, don't get me wrong, but it's more like the pointing direction. You still need to do the walking. Otherwise, it's not stable. So meditation is something where you need to put in the effort. You need to put in the work that you discover whatever the meditation, the specific meditations is designed to do. Then there is the second thing. Meditation, for its becoming authentic meditation, must have a very clear, defined purpose. A very clear, defined school of thought behind it, a philosophy, basic assumptions must be clear, and a very clear path that you can know, I've reached this stage, and that stage. Nowadays, meditation is approached, like almost as a lifestyle. Just be mindful, mindful this, mindful eating, mindful drinking. I'm sorry, mindful going to the toilet. Well, well, I say, hold on, slow back. First of all, now starting with mindfulness. Mindfulness is a wonderful, beautiful practice. But even in mindfulness, each authentic meditation school has different manuals how to teach mindfulness. It's not such a simple thing as listen to this app and do this. Like mindfulness is almost like a workout. Mindfulness, very simply, I take away now all the fascination of it. Sorry, it's just concentrating the mind. And the more powerful your ability to concentrate is, the more subtle it becomes. Yes, but for this, you need to have built some level of concentration. Otherwise, it's talking senseless. I compared this several times, like the mindfulness that most people talk about on a level, be mindful of this, be mindful of that, is already talking on a mastery level that you need to reach first. If people would train simple concentration, what I sometimes say, count your breath. If you can count to 10 without being distracted, congratulations already. Then go for 20, go for 30, until 100, until 1,000. You don't need any complicated instructions. In the beginning, if you cannot hold your concentration even until 100, and this takes practice. Many people think it's easy to count until 100. No, it's not. Try it out. You don't need to talk about mindful nothing, really. Like, just please shut up. Don't teach meditation like most people already do. They have a workshop. They listened like 3 months to an app, and now they have a YouTube channel about being a meditation master, teacher. It's ridiculous, ridiculous. So meditation is really the art of self-mastery, of mastering your mental processes, which takes training. And we would take nobody seriously in any profession who trains on and off for 10 to 15 minutes a day, if at all, and later after some months opens a practice and say, hey, I'm a super practitioner of this. I mean, we go even for any profession, we go through years of training, years of practice, until we get certifications, we become qualified for anything, right? And we think that mastering our minds is an entirely different arena. Suddenly no. And there is things you can measure. People like to talk about the higher levels of meditation where you're just aware, where you're just mindful of everything, because they think it's difficult to measure, but it's not. So in any real meditation school, there are levels to achieve. So if you cannot hold your mindfulness until 2000, don't even try to go for the advanced meditations. You're not there yet. Very simple, you know, like baby steps. I sometimes compare this to working out in a gym. If you cannot lift a bar of 20 kilos, what do you want to do with a bar of 200? Are you kidding me? You'll just break yourself. Are you kidding me? And this is the equivalent. Like people talking about advanced meditation, like they are talking actually about 200-300 kilo bars. I can lift them, yeah, it's easy to talk about it. Show me, can you do it? So that's one simple aspect of meditation. All meditation, actually one and the basic aspect is first, you need to be able to concentrate the mind. And the traditional image given there from some schools, one of my teachers told this, is like saying, if you want to, let's say you're a lady, I take an example for ladies, and you want to put on some makeup, right? And you want to glue paint your lips, do your eyes, etc. And if you cannot hold your hands still and your face is moving like this, you can't put any color on, right? So the first thing, this was a literal example of one of my early teachers. He was teaching this to ladies. Also, then we had a big audience of ladies where he was giving this example. He said the first thing is you need to keep your head still. You need to learn to keep your fingers still, and then you can start to paint, or actually to paint on something. I mean, you're a musician. You've been also a musician, and you're very familiar with music. I mean, imagine people talking about being a virtuoso, etc., when they like practice maybe the first time playing a guitar or something, like practice 10 minutes, etc. The first thing, what do you say? First, learn the accords, learn scales. Start with A, B, C, D, or do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. Whatever, like train the basics. It doesn't make even sense to talk about advanced, or maybe I'm jazz musician, etc. Come on, like master something. And that's the sad thing nowadays, especially in the West, when it comes to meditation. Everybody talks on a level of mastery. Nobody wants to do the basics. Because guess what? It's not like an instant coffee. It's not like an instant download. You need to spend hours. Me personally, I spend probably 40,000 hours meditating. And I don't teach this stuff because I had teachers who's not only, it's not only about more, it's also about different kind of quality, right? Honestly, that's why I say, hey, I'm a beginner at meditation. I'm a beginner at discovering my mind. I probably know some stuff more than other people because I sat on my butt longer time. I've been 7 years in a Buddhist hermitage, spent 5.5 years in close retreat, doing nothing else from morning to the evening than meditating. So I know a little bit about the mind. So what I know is it takes practice. That's why I did. That's why I left my career behind. That's why I left all securities behind and did this. Because you know what? If you want results, you need to put in effort. In anything, whatever you do. If you do hypnosis, if you do other things, it's practice, 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 practice. I loved it. In one of our conversations, you say one of your teachers told you, like, if you want to learn how to create an induction on your pillow, hypnotize your pillow 1,000 times or something like this. And that's it. You need to practice it. And nowadays we want everything easy, everything instantly. And without practice, nothing will come out. And we don't even need to talk about advanced levels of meditation and contemplation if you can't practice it. And there is one very famous quote from a very high Tibetan master. I never had the chance to meet him, actually. Passed away quite a long time ago, actually already before I was born. That's why I never met him. I forgot his name now, but I think it was Khyentse Rinpoche also, who told, without mindfulness, everything is an ocean of piss. What he meant was, of course, in the world of hypnosis, in the world of meditation practice, right? Mindfulness as a basic practice, and he was using mindfulness as concentration. If you can't concentrate your mind, you cannot go further. So then the second big part of meditation, so one half of meditation is concentration, because that's the foundation. You need to hold the ability to hold your mind. And this can start on a basic level. And actually, you can practice concentration without ever practicing meditation. Whatever work you do that involves high levels of focused attention. Music, highly concentrated practice. So there is ways of concentrating to mind beyond meditation. Meditation can become very precise, very measurable, less distraction, and much more on the point also. Because different activities, yes, they concentrate the mind, but you might still have a little bit more wiggle room for the mind to wander. And in different concentration practices, they become very sharp, so that you get also in a very deep state of focused mind, which is in itself very fulfilling, and in itself can lead to all kinds of insights and benefits. But it's easy to read about this, difficult to put this into practice. That's the thing. That's why I say meditation, hard work. Yes, and I do not want to devalue even 10 minutes of meditation daily. It's very powerful if you do 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes of meditation, real meditation, which is concentration every day. Very powerful. Do not underestimate. I don't want to devalue, but you need to know what you're doing. You're concentrating your mind. You're not in dreaming. You're not, I'm mindful of this, I'm mindful of that, and I love animals, and I love to save the world. And no, well, come on, don't waste your time, then better get up and do some work. Like, if you want to meditate, meditate. Second part of meditation is contemplation, or reaching understanding into the nature of reality, into the nature of your own reality and phenomena. And this is different from meditation school to meditation school, because it's actually depending on a philosophical school. You know, just 50 years after the death of Buddha, we had, like, nobody knows this, 50 different philosophical approaches in Buddhism. 18 different schools, 50 approaches. And later on even more. Just 50 years after its death, there's the famous 18 philosophical schools of Buddhist thought, depending on the realization of different master students. Some say, no, the Buddha was meaning this. No, the Buddha, and we have even schools, like they keep the thought of the ultimate reality is an atom. We have this even in Buddhist school. There is a school that still think there is, like, the ultimate reality is that there is an undistractable real matter particle, which you can call an atom. Then there is the school that deny this, that say mind only, Chittamatra school, very famous school, the mind only school in Buddhist school. And because of this entirely different set of practices, entirely different approaches, and for this different results. They aim for different things. So no, then you have all this Hinduistic tradition, entirely different again. And even in Hinduism, countless different schools. Yes, you have like 4 or 5 big sub-schools, but in this 4 or 5 categories, countless different schools. So, and in the West, what do? We have some tapes, we have some this, we talk about mindfulness. That's it. And everything is just like one bunch of things. And everybody say, I meditate. yeah, what does this even mean? I've learned meditation in different traditions. I've studied meditation in the Zen Buddhist tradition. I've studied, and even in the Zen Buddhist tradition, in the Chinese and the Japanese one, different. I've learned meditation in the Taoist tradition. Very important influence in my life, the Taoist practices from Taoism. Very powerful, deep, transformative meditations. Then later found my home in the Tibetan Buddhist school. But even in the Tibetan Buddhist school, to be precise, it was the Karma Kagyu tradition. And of the Karma Kagyu tradition, a certain lineage that's called Dakpo Kagyu lineage, where you have certain instructions and where you even practice certain practices in close retreat. That's why I went to a hermitage, because certain practices are only taught in this way. You seclude yourself for 3.5 years, otherwise you are not even taught this. That's why I did it. It was not just a hippie idea, you know, like if you want to study, like if you want to go to medicine school, you have to go through a certain training, and each university probably has a little bit different program, and you apply and you go through this training. Is this easy? No. But if you want the results, if you want to learn this, you go through this. That's why I did it. So even this was very specific. Later on, after a retreat, I learned even a different tradition again. But I know how to separate things. And this is now when we talk about meditation, we have to know, what are we talking about? What school of thought are you talking about? From where are you coming? And the highest schools of meditation do not even teach meditation. They approach directly, like they say that in the highest school of Buddhist meditation, for example, which we can call like the Dzogchen tradition, in the Tibetan school, or in India, it was called more the Mahamudra. It's not even anymore about meditation. It's about transference of truth, which is misunderstandable in the sense of just the teacher giving you some philosophical explanation. This is part of it, but then the teacher enables you to perceive this truth. And there we come again to the importance of guidance of a teacher, but more like a finger pointer, not so much guiding your mind like in hypnosis again, more like to say, look there, do you hear this sound? Perceive the sound now. Look what's happening to the sound when you listen to it. You're still self-discovering, right? Or there is more philosophical approaches where you contemplate, which is a valid school of discovery. And there is a large school of thought in the West, the Greek school, the Greek philosophical schools. They were advanced meditators. People do not get this. They think Pythagoras, etc. They just made a bunch of formulas and no, these were like philosophy. In its origin was a contemplation school. You need to get to the realizations by contemplating, by debating. And there is in Tibetan, we still have in Tibetan Buddhism a school who do not emphasize formal sitting meditation so much as formal study and debate to clarify the mind, to get into understanding of reality. So it's not about rejecting the intellect. Well, many people also confuse, right? In any case, what I want to say was this, summarize before I confuse everybody. We have meditation on the level of concentration practices. And in the Buddhist tradition, we call these practices shamatha in Sanskrit. And shamatha was in Tibetan, translated into Tibetan as shine. And actually it was one of the early Tibetan Buddhist teachers who came to the West. It was Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, who came in the 60s. He went to Scotland, founded the first monastery outside Tibet there. And there he translated, he was the first Tibetan Buddhist teacher who went later into the US, who was very, very adept in English. And a lot of the tradition, a lot of the terminology stems from his early translations. And he translated my shine or shamatha in Sanskrit the art of focusing the mind into mindfulness. He established this practice, the name. And from there, it was taken and used in all kinds of different ways, right? But what this basically means is the art of focusing the mind. But since he was at the same time influenced by a very advanced understanding of meditation, it became very mixed already in his school, with his students, and later they were very wild, they were very hippie, a lot of scandals, etc. So, but he introduced the terminology and everybody used the word differently, and it spread out, mindfulness. And then we have mindfulness. So we have mindfulness, or shine, the art of focusing the mind. And there is like counting the breath, focusing on the breath, or just being aware with thoughts, which is a higher level, which is difficult to hold, because first you need to really keep the mind more tightly hold. And then we have what you do with the mindfulness. Once you have a concentrated mind, what do you do with it? Either you contemplate intellectually on reality by asking different questions, or you analyze your mind and come to discoveries. That's the path of meditation. Guided meditations where you have visualizing journeys, like they are sold now, internal journeys, etc., is, in my point of view, only hypnosis. Has nothing to do with meditation. Why do I like both? I like self-discovery because it works on the level of self-enablement, a self-realization, self-actualization, and you grow very powerfully step by step only as far as you get and where you are. What we do in hypnosis, in my understanding, is, so in a way, let me go back to meditation. In meditation, you work through the resistance yourself. You work through the limitations given by your critical mind, by your critical faculty. You break this resistance gradually. You penetrate it with your concentration, with your awareness yourself. While in hypnosis, what we try to do as hypnotists is to trick the client around the critical faculty, right? It's all about accessing a more direct power to within. So that's why I still believe hypnosis is way more quick in order to create changes, but even insights. Hypnosis can be used even in order to guide and to give a bit of an experience, a taste of the power of the mind. But since it's not really gradually self-earned, there is still a dependency in a way, as long as the hypnotist enables the client to grow into his own power. But then it becomes again more going in the direction of teaching meditation, what some people approach with self-hypnosis, which is like another way of saying, I try to teach you how to do it yourself. Where I think things get then more in the direction of meditation again. So this is my understanding how I put these things in place, and I hope this makes somewhat sense, right?
It makes lots of sense. And thank you so much to share all this knowledge. And also, I would like to say something. Maybe that's why we teach our clients few tools so that they can go home and practice themselves to self-discover even more. Because the problem is not the problem, is the approach that we have to the problem, or in somehow the problem could be ramp up or some way and form to become even better. So acknowledge something. And it's so fascinating me. This is funny because today I was shooting a video about music and how people believe in results. They want quick results, and nobody is into practice. Nobody wants to be I mean, the one who stays 3, 4, 6 hours per day, every day, studying the same
No.
scales or phrases. So to me, it's obvious. And you were into the path of meditation and doing your experiences, and I
Mm,
can understand. Obviously, I said I'm not good in meditation, I
mm,
didn't have
mm.
this practice, but you said, strangely enough, that there's a link in between music and meditation.
Oh, yes.
Because to me, when I play, I go deeply in trance. It's like I'm dealing with my music and trying
Totally.
to manifest my music. And in
Yes.
somehow, in the different way, is a self-discovery. What kind of
Yes.
music is troubling me? Yeah.
Yes.
And uh,
Because, you couldn't play the music if your mind is not focused.
exactly.
How do you want to do? I don't know which instrument do you prefer. Is
Oh,
guitar
I
or
studied a
piano?
lot of music, a lot of the instrument. But anyway, let's say
I
guitar.
mean, let's say guitar. How do you want to play complicated scales and rhythms while thinking of your shopping?
Exactly.
You cannot. You need to focus inside. And as soon as the crazy thing with concentration and focus is people, yes, the mind becomes narrow, but at the same time, this narrowness opens up the capacity of the mind. So you are in touch with your emotions, with your feelings, with your tunes, with your energy. So I understand fully once you're in it, there's where the magic happens, where the art comes. What do I want to express? And that's why we are fascinated by music and by live music, immediate performance, because it's true art, it's true inspiration flowing then. And this is the magic we all love. That's why listening to a musician or musicians perform live, it's like entering this common trance and self-discovering at the same time. It's very powerful. Yeah,
And I
that is.
agree also with you because you said people sit there with the legs like this, yeah,
Mm, mm,
and they close their eyes because they see monks often. They
mm.
close their eyes and they believe they meditating, but you basically don't know. We
No,
don't know what they're doing. At least I took for myself. We don't know what they're doing. I
no,
mean, maybe they just having a nap or
yeah.
they just thinking. So it's difficult to analyze that. But also in the music field, people wants to play an instrument to stay on the stage. But to
Mhm,
me, staying on the stage, it was not about me. It was about the environment, the
mhm,
music, the
mhm,
connection. So
mhm,
the perspective is switched. As you
mhm.
were saying, when you meditate for a long time, you
Same thing.
develop yourself and you connect even more, even if you
Yes,
narrow down,
yes,
you
absolutely,
opening up.
absolutely.
I was talking with a friend of mine. She is Indian, and she was kind of upset because lots of people they go there for 3 months and they come back in Italy or Western culture and they say, "I'm a master in yoga or a
Yes,
meditation," which is
absolutely.
lots of times they combine together, and
Yes.
I never understood why they combine those practice. Anyway, it's strange, and I would say, yeah, it's true. There are lots of schools here. They open like mushroom. They come like this. Tun, 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 tun. There are a lot. And she said to me, "Look, I'm even more upset because they do the same in India. Indian
Yeah.
people, they stay 3 months and they say, I'm a master."
Yeah.
So because you already answered my last question about the
Mm,
marketing of
mm,
hypnosis and meditation, would you please expand your thoughts about what I believe is a good concept? uh, I always say experience versus techniques.
mhm,
Lots of people they searching for techniques. Give me the technique is important, and then I say yes, but even if I give you the technique, would you practice it? Would you make your experience?
mhm,
So I believe we don't talk enough about this.
mhm,
Would you
mhm.
expand on
Yes.
the topic?
Yes. I think first of all, I can understand that when you begin something, you start with technique. Let me switch a bit out to a meta understanding. Let's talk more about learning. I believe in learning there is 3 stages. We start with learning techniques in something, and later I give some example. Then the second level understanding, which is a bit more mastery, is understanding methods, not so much singular techniques. And the highest learning, once you start to integrate the learning, and let's say you start to master something, is understanding principles. And even there's a higher level where you do not care at all, where you're just present and it flows, right? So you just do. So it has become completely unconscious competency. You don't know why you do whatever. It's just you, because you have learned so much the techniques and principles behind it. You don't know anymore. You just apply whatever is accurate. When learning techniques, that's where we start. Let's say in martial arts, I had this right when learning, let's say somebody punches you, let's say we take something like karate, like there is like the force against the force. You step out and you block it, right? You block, you make a counter attack. Let's say you learn all kinds of techniques that is about strikes towards the upper body where you defend yourself, etc. What do you do now in a situation when you only focus on techniques? Somebody kicks you. I don't know. What do I do now? What do I do now? Teacher, he kicked me. I don't know. You didn't teach me how to kick, Okay, that's the learning became limited. So if your understanding of your field is on the level of technique, you're very quickly at a loss, because each client will be different. Good luck with the bunch of techniques that you need 100 million different techniques for all the different clients, right?
Exactly.
Could be a problem to keep them in mind. That's why everybody has their textbooks. Let me look up this script, that script. So script, as if the technique and the script is going to save you from having to deal with individuals. Next thing, once you understand that there is a principle behind the technique, you can invent your techniques. This is or the method. For example, the method in karate is stepping out of the way of the force and blocking it. Once you get the method, step out, block, step out, block, step out, block, you can easily block a kick, even if you have never learned a block towards a kick. You step out and you invent some kind of block, right? Immediately, you're more capable in this situation. Let's go one step further. Once you understand the principle even behind it, that it's not even necessarily about blocking. The principle is don't get hurt. Get out of the way and use proper positioning, spatial positioning to your advantage with minimal force. Use parts of your body that are not getting hurt. You can completely invent a different style that doesn't even look like karate. You might actually understand the best way not to get hurt is not to bring myself in situations where I might get hurt. That's understanding the principle. The best defense, if there is an empty, dark street where I know it's in a district that's not very good, nobody can see me, nobody can help me. If I go along there, if something happens, I'm in trouble. So if you understand karate well, you don't go there. You see, you have applied the basic principles, so you don't enter. And this was my experience when I started martial arts. I didn't have any more fights. I didn't have any more trouble. That's the crazy thing. Many people will tell you once they learn martial arts, etc. Yeah, you do not encounter the problems you had encountered before. You perceive differently. You act differently. And the same thing, I think, is with hypnosis or any kind of therapy. So people focus so much on techniques. There is important, but that's the very first step. Then in good hypnosis schools, they also teach you the method behind it. That you understand, well, the method is this. And the better schools are even teaching you the principles behind it. Like say, look, depending on the hypnosis school, they can teach you the principle is bring the client in, let's say the state-based school, get them into somnambulism. However you do it, start from there. If you believe in kind of somnambulism, whatever. I mean, let's assume, right? Let's shift them into this particular state of hypnosis and then work there and make sure and test them that they are there. Then you're already enabled. Even if you beat them on the head, I'm joking now, maybe you don't do this better as a hypnotist, but whatever. I mean, technique doesn't matter anymore once you understand the point of it. And you're not interested in the script once you get this. Other school of thought, when you say it's an interactive process, you take even more care of everything, of your nonverbal appearance, of your pre-talk, of creating a good rapport. You emphasize this, and then into a kind of ritual, whatever you choose. And then it doesn't matter if you keep the hand like this, if you do catalepsy, if you do eye catalepsy, you know, it's about the ritual. You know, it's the principle is about giving, providing a stepping stone to the client that he understands, he or she is convinced, wow, something is going on here that's different. So my change really took place. So you help the client believe, depending on the school of thought, as I say, right? One, they might neglect. I don't care. You choose whatever you want to believe in. But once you understand the principle, heck, invent your techniques. You don't need to follow any particular techniques. But I understand in the learning, first, if you start like this, teaching people, starting like this to say everything principle, they are like, okay, I go somewhere else. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about either, or say, this is too advanced for me. Give me something to do. Because that's how we learn, right? In the beginning, we want to learn. This is an A, this is a B, this is a C, and later we write and are fluent, and then we even do entirely our own way of writing. That's, I believe, is the dilemma. And too many times, too many hypnotists talk too much only about techniques or methods, because guess what? It's easier to sell. I'm sorry. Because of course, once you're in the business of hypnosis, and especially teaching hypnosis, of course, I mean, if you're not selling particular techniques or particular methods, what do you have to sell?
Not only
it's
that,
like
they have also to find very intriguing names to call the
yes,
itself.
yes. And I don't want to put this down, not at all. I mean, it's everything
No.
valid. You know, like there is schools, you need to go through stuff, but once you understand, you know, in the end, it's two people coming together. And if there is an honest intention to help, that's the most fundamental principle, and we should start there, if anything else. If one just think it's about tools, applying tools like a mechanic, better, I say, choose another profession, really, because I love this sentence: a fool with a tool is still a fool. You know, like you can have a bunch of fools, but if you come from the right place, you've got already in place what matters most. That's what I believe in, right? Call it hypnosis, call it other modality afterwards. And that's what also, interesting enough, clinical studies start to prove, where they compare therapies, where they also within hypnosis, where they compare techniques, and they say, doesn't almost matter what techniques and whatever school of thought you choose. In the end, what seems to matter more, how good the connection between the hypnotist or hypnotherapist and the client has been. And if there is a caring, honest rapport, it almost does not matter what technique the transformation happens.
Yeah.
So what does this tell us? Let's forget the fixation on techniques. Let's stop fighting about, no, it's about state versus this. You know, even this is not important. Come on, guys. We don't know, right? We don't know. And for some clients will be more working with state, with other clients will be more working in the interaction. And in the end, we need both. And techniques really do not matter, do they?
Once a person said to me, when you become one with someone else, as soon as you change the other one.
Totally.
So it
Totally.
was mind-blowing for me.
Totally.
It was like,
Totally.
wow, this is the maximum level of empathy and leading and whatever you want to call it. But I agree with you 100%, because techniques is important in the first steps, and then you practice a lot, you become experienced until you become the hypnosis itself. You become hypnotic, you become what you do, so that you manifest yourself, you become something. And I heard also that lots of people really into martial arts, but also I discover people in music, they basically don't know how to teach, because they go just in a flow. They just tell you, look what I do and do it, because I basically don't know. I am, they say. They don't do, they are.
Yes. In a way, these are wonderful and terrible teachers in the same time. Depends on where you are on your path, how much patience you have. And this was a classical way of learning from a master. They did not know necessarily how to guide you, right? But if you stay long enough with them, that's why the traditional instructions, even to learn meditation, you go, stay with a master, you spend with them day in, day out, you serve them for 20 years. And if you're happy, you got something. People cannot even stick nowadays for 10 minutes with somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like TikTok or Instagram, that they swap.
That's now times. Yeah, we have to adapt.
Alptekin, I have to thank you so much, because you shared with us tons of concept. I believe people that is listening to this interview, they will cry a lot, say, okay, we have to study a lot, but good. That's what we want.
Thank you. Thank you for that. It
Best.
was wonderful talking to you. Always a pleasure. And I enjoy this very much. Thank you.
So thank you so much, and have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.